Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the First Minister what the Scottish Government's response is to the poverty statistics published last week in the report Poverty and Income Inequality in Scotland 2019 to 2022.
First Minister.
Poverty levels are lower for all individuals and for children than the UK average, but I fully state unequivocally they remain unacceptably high, which is why I want all the powers of a normal nation, such as all social security and all employment powers. We will continue to use all the levers we have and have allocated almost £3 billion this year to a range of measures to help mitigate against the impacts of the cost of living crisis. Our investment in the Scottish Child Payment, the most ambitious child poverty reduction measure in the UK, is estimated to lift 50,000 children out of relative poverty in 23-24. Tackling poverty will be the defining mission of my government, which is why I will convene an anti-poverty summit to help guide the choices that I make as First Minister shortly.
Pam Duncan-Glancy.
I thank the First Minister for that answer, but over 15 years the SNP have squandered Labour's legacy. People are poorer, relative poverty is up, poverty amongst disabled people is up, persistent poverty is up. The best spin the SNP could come up with is that these terrible figures are stable. This First Minister has failed to tackle poverty in Glasgow, where he represents, and in Dundee, where he lives. He's failed to tackle poverty over 10 years as a government minister. He says tackling poverty is his priority, but he's not appointed a Minister for Social Security. So I ask the First Minister, why should people in Scotland trust him to reduce poverty?
First Minister.
Social Security is being led by the Cabinet Secretary. It's a Cabinet position. Cabinet Secretary for Social Justice. She's sitting right there. She's waving right at you. So it will be a Cabinet responsibility. And here's what we're doing. We are spending £3 billion to mitigate the harmful effects of Tory austerity. Almost £3 billion. That includes, of course, the game-changing Scottish Child Payment. We support families in a variety of ways, including free school meals, free bus travel for under-22s, free school meals for around 145,000 pupils. And we have made significant increases, as I've already mentioned, to our fuel insecurity, but also our food insecurity fund, as well as the Scottish Welfare Fund. And just to quote, if she doesn't believe me, just to quote John Dickey, known to members right across the chamber, of the Child Poverty Action Group, when he said, and I quote, "There should be no doubt Nicola Sturgeon has made huge progress putting in place the building blocks needed to end child poverty." And it should be said the statistics that are being quoted and discussed here, of course, they are from before we increased the Scottish Child Payment. But let me say really clearly to Pam Duncan-Glancy, I didn't get into politics just to mitigate every time, that the UK government brings forward harmful policies. Every time we do that, we have to take money away from the NHS. We have to take money away from education. We have to take money away from transport. We have to take money away from justice to mitigate the harmful impacts of cruel Tory policies. Wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better to have the full powers over social security in our hands, the full powers over the finances, the full powers over employment, all in our hands, instead of being at the mercy of a UK government? And that's the difference between Pam Duncan-Glancy and I. She wants to keep those powers in the hands of the Conservative Party. I want to make sure they're in our hands so we can unleash this country's potential.